and manipulating how to get the selected index and all that from the drop down. So what I've gone ahead and done is I have added this drop down. I have added this drop down to the HTML, and the ID of the drop down is DDL select. The value of these options is 1, 2, 3, 4, and the text inside them is 1, 2, 3, 4 in words. Make sense? Now what I am going to do, every time the value of this thing is changed, I will display in a div what is the value of the option selected, what is the text inside that option, and what is the value and what is the index of the option. Like if this one is selected, the index will be 1 because this is 0, this is 1, this is 2, this is 3. Make sense? Okay. So how now I'll show you how I have done this. Look. So what I'm doing is inside the dollar function remember is the same as document.ready. Okay. So I have a ddl.select.change. Okay, this event will be fired whenever the changes inside the drop down. Yes. So inside that I have defined a function. Inside the function, what I am doing is here $this will refer to the select element, right? No, I'm getting the value. I'm not setting the value. I'm getting the value. See if there's nothing here. Okay. So now I'm setting the value. Then what I'm doing is getting the value. Sorry. Value will be displayed, whatever value is selected here, whatever option is selected here, that will be the value. Okay, I'm storing it inside a variable called value. Then I'm getting the selected index of the DDL, drop down list. So how will I get this? $this.prop. Prop is another function in Jquery. So what that will do is, every drop down has a selected index property. It has a property known as selected index. So this will get the value of the selected index property. Make sense? Dot prop. Okay, it is called an element and it will return the value of this particular property of that element. So for example, I'll experiment with this a little more later. Then I have option text. Option text is this thing. This is the option text 1, 2, 3, 4. So that I can get by DDL selected option. Option selected. This is another CSS. If you remember, this is actually not needed. Just this, what this does is, it loops over all the options. It gets the option that has this. Like if an option is particularly selected, it will be written like this. Okay. So it will go through. It will loop over all the options. It will get the one that is currently has this property. Make sense? It will have something like this. I will show you in the document object model itself. And then it will store it inside selected option text. Then what I'm doing, I'm building a string that is to be displayed. I'm getting the value, setting the value, break, index, break, then selected option text. Does this make sense? Right? I'll run it and show you. I put a debugger, so no problem. So right now this won't do anything. It will just stop at a couple of debuggers. So now once the change event fires, this function is fired. Okay? Value. What is $this? Selected element. So if you hover over this, that thing is selected, right? So now what does this return? It returns 2. Why? If you go over here, this is the selected index, right? So what is the value? 2. So that is what it is displaying. Next, also here, we'll see. So now I'm getting the selected option. What is selected? Now first I got the selected index, right? This is 1. Make sense? Why? 0, 1, right? Then I'm going to get the text inside this option selected. Okay? So what is this? Correct? Wait, let me see. Dot text. If it's a function. It's a function. Yes, dot text. It what dot text will do is, um, I am not sure if dot HTML will work here. Let me just check quickly. Even HTML works. So we'll have to check what is the difference between text and HTML. I would assume when you enter text in HTML, what was happening, you could enter div tags and all that. Remember, in dot text, if you enter a div tag, it will be displayed as a div tag in the element. It won't become HTML. That is what I'm assuming, but we'll see. Difference between HTML and text. Okay, we'll let this load. We'll go back and I'll quickly show you a couple of more things. So now what I'm doing is, all this is displayed, right? Value is 2, index is 1, selected option text is 2. Okay. Now say I want to change the selected option. So I'll do ddl select dot val. I'll put it 3. Let's see what this does. So now I'm setting the property. Okay. Say if I want to stop selected index equal to or comma, I'm not sure, we'll see. No. See, now 4 got selected. So what I'm doing here is I'm changing using the selected index here. Here I'm using selected index. Here I'm using the value to change it. So what happens if I try to select an index that is not there? Empty. It's becoming empty. Okay. And what happens when I'm trying to select a value that is not there? First let us select a value that is there. For example, 2. So 2 got selected. Now let me put a value that's not there. So it goes back to 1. We'll check that out again. Yeah, it goes back to 1. Sorry, I selected 1 and then I'm selecting 1. So it is 2 now. It is going back to 1. Is it making sense? So that is inbuilt. That is like inbuilt in Jquery, or I'm not sure in HTML or Jquery. But that is when you enter a value that is not present, it will automatically select the first value. Okay. Now, I said what is the difference between text and HTML. See, like I said, jquery.html treats the string as HTML, whereas jquery.text treats the content as text. Make sense? So if you put a div inside the .html, the browser will render it as a div. But if you put it inside text, actual div will show up. Okay? So I think he has given an example here as well. We'll check. Okay, we'll check the difference rather than me telling you. Div id equal to example div 1, div id equal to example div 2. Okay. So in the dollar function I will define $, example div1 dot html href anchor tag close. I'll put hello. I'll close this. We'll see what difference this makes. See, this is being shown as normal text, whereas this is being shown as a link, HTML. All right. So you learned two new functions. You learned .text, you learned .prop, and you learned how to manipulate the drop-down. There's one more thing that you need to know about a drop-down. What if you want to add options dynamically to a drop-down? Are you getting my point? Like, say I have, how will I display this? Where is the button? We hadn't added a button here. Okay, so what I'm going to do ahead first is going to add a input type equal to button, ID equal to btn click. Tell me.
We are using input tag. Page is not reloading.
No, the thing is when you're using input type equal to button, page is not won't reload. But when you use a
but when I use a button tag,
it will refresh. That is, I guess, defined by HTML itself. That nothing that is not related to JavaScript or your code. If you use input type equal to submit as well, that will also refresh the page. Okay, so that is not your problem. That's not your mistake. It is something that HTML has defined itself. It has asked the input types to have those properties. So now this won't refresh. I won't have to pass false, return false. It just won't refresh. Button click dot click function. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the current HTML of the dropdown. So var current HTML inside the dropdown, right? So how will I get that? Equal to dollar. Tell me, where is the then tell me. I want whatever HTML is inside the dropdown. What in quotes? Why do you want to give the ID? .html will automatically return everything, right? Why do you want to give? You don't have to supply any parameter. You're using a getter, right? So then what I'll do is I'll get the data inside the first name text box. Okay. Dollar txtfname dot val. So var value to add equal to. Okay, this will return the value. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to build an option. Var option to add equal to option value equal to wait, you'll ask me once I'm done. Value to add. Okay, this looks good. Plus value to add plus closing the option. Stop. So option value, okay, close plus value to add plus this. Okay. Now what I'll do is I will get dollar ddl select dot sorry, select dot html. I'll get the current I want to add this at the very beginning. Okay, so what I'll do is first I'll write options to add plus. Does this make sense? If it doesn't, I'll show you. So this is the button. Why doesn't it have anything? Because I have not specified a value. Value add to drop down. Okay. What is inside this thing? So what got added here? Make sense? I'll go through the code now. So if I enter 1, 2, 3 and add. Okay. So I will. Okay. So what is the current HTML? Current HTML is the current all these options. Getting my point? Then what I'm doing is I'm getting the value that needs to be added. Right? What is inside this text? I'm getting that. And then I'm building the option. So option value equal to this option. Then what I'm doing is this. I'm first adding the option to the current HTML and then setting this whole thing to the HTML of the DDL select. Make sense? So what does this give? This adds a new option like this. Right? So okay. So now there will be 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So if I want to add Gopal, current HTML will be retrieved, value to add is Gopal, option is built, then get it? So like this, using the same method on the, what we did here is we did it for the input type, right? Using the same, using this method itself, not the click event on the document.ready event, what you can do is you can set whatever name for the select element as the first element. So when the user sees the page, see for example I had option value equal to nothing, nothing, and inside the text we had select an element to show the user, because we are not using labels, right? So that is why I am saying. So option value equal to nothing, select an option. Now when you reload the page, this is what will be displayed, right? But you want to do this dynamically on the page load. So what you will do is you will specify a name, and on the page load event you will set the first property to the name. Make sense? No? Like similar, exactly like a text box.
Instead of giving it here, you are giving it dynamic.
Yes, yes.
When you not do that option value for select option.
No, I won't. I will remove this now. Now we'll set the first element to select an option. So you can do that, right? Just showed you. Okay. Now what else do we have? What else should I cover? Okay, I'll cover something called callbacks. We'll cover something called callbacks. So now Jquery has two functions, fade in and fade out. I believe Jquery has, or Jquery UI has, I'm not sure. I guess Jquery has. Yes, Jquery has. Okay. So what I want to do now is I'll have another button. Sorry, input type equal to button, ID equal to hide all divs, value equal to hide all the divs, right? So what I'll do is on the click event of this thing, I will get all the divs like this and I'll hide them. Fade out. I'll tell you the parameters of fade out in a bit. Okay, everything goes away. Make sense? Dot hide is also there. But then that will not have that effect of fading out. Wait, for example, I give it 6 or give it 800 here. It takes time. So 800 is 800 milliseconds. So if you want to have 1 second, you'll specify 1000. Okay. Similarly, you add another thing called in this I'm quickly touching animations here a little. I won't go into a lot of depth because I'm in dot in. Goes away, displayed. Goes away, displayed. What if you wanted to do this in a loop? Means every okay, I'll show you where. I'll add another button. This is something called callbacks. Hide, show, callback. Hide and then show all the difference. So it will hide it, then immediately show it. Okay. So what I'm going to do is, even this function, I will bind it. I'll create a new one. Click function $div dot first fade out, right? First it will fade out. Fade out 1000. Okay, what?
Chain fade out and fade in.
You want to chain it? Okay, first we'll try chaining it. We'll see what happens. This is chaining, right? I don't think this will work, but okay, it does work. Okay. Now it will take forever. Fine. It's happening. It's happening. You can chain it, and then there is one more thing. There's something called callback. So what callback does is, say after the feed-in function is over, you want to call another function. After it is over, so you'll just specify it here. Function that needs to be called after the feed-in effect is over. Getting my point? So that is what a callback is. So for example, you have a AJAX call, right? You were making an AJAX call to the server. I'm just giving an example. You don't know how to do, we'll do it tomorrow. Ajax, you're making an Ajax call to the server. Now what you do is, you don't know when that call will complete, right? The server might be busy on another request. So what will happen, what you will do is, when the response is received, you will call another function. So that is generally where we use callbacks. But it is used extensively in animation as well. When you're doing animations, callbacks are used. So in this function, say I $div dot fade out. Now this becomes kind of awkward, and then I also want to do div dot css. So now, if after, say for example, I wanted to wait till this fade out is over. First fading in, then fade out, right? So what I do is I define another function. I can always do that. Does this make sense? Okay, we'll see what this does. Okay, so what is happening is, first it is fading in, but it is already visible, right? It's already visible. Then it is fading out, and then it is setting the CSS to gray. We'll see how this occurs again. So it's not visible. We'll refresh the page. I'm not sure why it is going away again. So first it is fading out. Huh. I'll refresh it. I'm clicking on this. Okay, we'll put a debugger, best thing. Expect element, sources, form.aspx, this one. This is the culprit. Show all divs. So here it is fading in, which is not doing anything. Come on. I'm very tired today. Fades in, okay, nothing happens, then it's going to fade out. Okay, let's just wait, I'll tell you what is happening. Wow, it's stuck in a loop. It's stuck in a loop, endless loop it seems. Or finally came out. No, but there should be a condition to break, right? It just can't break it without reason. First fade in, then fade out. And background gray. I don't understand why this is going away. Okay. See, these are basically callbacks, but then don't write functions like this. It's confusing. Okay? It's kind of confusing. It's confusing me as well. I'm not sure why it is fading out again. We'll have to check. Okay, but then you get the idea of callback, right? You understand what callback does?
You fade in grass, and it is fade in when
Just,
when it is in fade in.
huh.
At that time, you have to change the background also. When it is fading out, there is nothing visible, so how can you change background there?
Yes, see, that makes sense, totally makes sense. I wrote this code just to show you the callback mechanism. I didn't really think, but what you're saying is totally correct, yes. So you're saying on the fade in, we have to set the background to gray and then we have to, but the thing is, I'm not sure .css has a callback. Are you following? .css does not have a callback. It might, no it doesn't. See if there are only two parameters e and n. So it probably doesn't. What we can do is, and let's try chaining this thing. The thing is, why is it happening twice? That is my question. Fade in does not work because it's already visible. So then CSS property is set to gray and then it is faded out. So it should stop there. But then it is happening again twice. That is my problem. Okay. Forget about this for the time being. Okay. What else do you think? I covered fade out and fade in. Okay. I covered to some extent callbacks, but I'll cover them properly tomorrow. But you know what a callback is. When something is completed, a callback will be issued. Okay. What next? We did validations as well, right? I told you that I have to select something, a proper thing. I didn't get time. Okay, let me think. What else is left? What else? Okay, so now what I'll show you is to loop through in an animation, like change the color from gray to red and then red to gray, whatever. We'll try that. You know a function, JavaScript has a function called set timeout. Timeout. Okay. Huh? No. It's not at all related to a session. What I'm going to do is set timeout function. I'll tell you what it does. First, let me just think about this a little. Okay. So what we'll do is animate div function animate div set timeout function okay dollar we'll have a div at the top let's fade it out in 300 seconds and then fade it in another 300 seconds. Okay. Wow. It doesn't have anything. No, we kept it in div. Okay. See, repeatedly. So what this does, I'm calling this in the document.ready event. Okay, $function event. So the function call goes to this thing, which is animate div. What it does is it first fades out this animation div in 300 milliseconds, then fades it back in. Then what it does, there's a function called set timeout, which this function that is defined inside set timeout will get executed after 1000 seconds. Okay, so what happens is this animate div is again executed. Okay, so set timeout will call this function after 1000 seconds. So again this thing gets done. So if I fades out, fades in, then again this thing is done. It's like a loop. Fades in, yes. So if you want to notice the difference, put 3000 seconds. Stays for a while, then after 3 seconds, right? Because that function is being called after every 3000 seconds, right? Okay. So like this you can have different texts displaying after every 3000, 4000 seconds. You can have an array, you can loop through that array, and every 3000 seconds display an element from that array. Okay, so like this you can do. You will have to keep track of the currently displayed index, and every time this happens, increment it with 1 and display the next one. Okay, so that is one thing that you will be doing today. Okay, we'll make it a little interesting. You'll have a drop down. Okay, you will inside the drop down you'll have this text and value and whatever. So like earlier I had done like this. Currently this is attached to a dot change event, correct? Dot change event. So now what you have to do is, when you won't attach this to the dot change event, okay, instead what you will do is, say I selected 2 now, this thing that is blinking should have these values. Okay, it doesn't have to fade out and fade in, not required. Say then after I select 3, it won't immediately change. Once this, after 3 seconds, this function will be fired, and inside that function you will change this. So now after that this will be displayed. No, you don't have to specify feed in. There where I have specified an animate div, inside that you will get all the values of the drop down and you will display it. Okay, and then you will call the same function in 3000 seconds. So what will happen, if the value of the drop down has changed, it will display a new value, that div. If it hasn't changed, it will keep displaying the same value. So it won't be called on a dot change event, but it will be called through the set timeout every time. Is it making sense what the task is? Deepak? Kind of a little difficult, but you guys should be able to do it. And you have written all the required code, right? scroll down. Up. Making faces at each other. Done. And then if you want, you can even fade it out and fade it in every time. Nobody is stopping you from doing that. So what I would want you to do is, wait, after every 3 seconds, I want you to fade the element out first. Change its values, then fade it in. Following? Then fade it out, still fade it out and fade it in. That's it. Not do any, you won't change anything, just fade it out and fade it in. Okay? Done? So we'll start practicing. You remember the functions that we covered today, right? I won't be there for a very long time. I'm very tired. So I'll probably hang around for 20 minutes or so and then I'll leave. You can always show this to me tomorrow. Tomorrow, guys, can you guys come a little early? Come at 5. Everyone can come? Tomorrow I have office. I'll go to office and I'll start from there at 4:30. Yeah, I can be here at 5. But 5 is 5, not 5:30. Okay? 5 is okay with you? Okay, we'll do it at 5 tomorrow. We'll probably work till 7:38 because tomorrow I'll be covering web service. Wait, I have to stop this.